myself, Chairperson Brown Singleton, and Co-Chair Commissioner Henderson, and City Manager Watson, Deputy City Clerk, Lisa Osmer, Deputy Director Clark, and members, citizens of the audience. First item for discussion is the metric system. Mr. Clark.
You have to bear with me for a second. It's not all condensed. For the month of May, there was 92 adults arrested, 10 juveniles for a total of 102. We took $779 total calls for service for the month, and 42 citations were issued, various offenses, city ordinances, some dumping, some loud noise. Pick up. Oh, no, I can't. Then going on to the fire side, 37 calls of service for the fire division in May. So at this point to the year, we've got 132 calls, which were down 10 from where we were at this point last year. So we're still seeing a steady decline. We did a safety analysis for St. John and Bernard Catholic Church. We've also been rotating through, Phelps has been teaching at KBCC Police Academy as well as the fire school. It helps with having our guys up there. And we're continuing to work with some confined space stuff and assist other departments. And the door widening and window projects are still on par with the firehouse. We've been, training-wise, we spent most of the month either doing confined space training for public safety and other departments, or driver's training on the fire trucks, getting everybody certified or recertified on driving the rigs. Fleet status, no major changes there. Construction's still following through on the new fire engine. If you actually go to our Facebook page, the company that's building it is sharing updates with it, so you can see it as it progresses along. Couple grants and initiatives. There's some DOJ grants and some other stuff I'm working on. I'll be bringing that out to the commission here soon for approval and input and stuff like that, but I want to get the basics down first. So. That's it. It was kind of a busy month between Blossom Time and everything else, so we didn't get too much done.
Cameras for, I think you're supposed to get some cameras for the dumping.
So we have those, and we got them activated and everything else. I don't know if they've caught anybody yet. The director has that. They're funneling right to his cell phone. So
they have been placed. They've been placed out in.
They've been getting out there. We're getting them done one at a time. We had to wait for memory and stuff like that to get in. So yeah.
Any questions? Public safety. Commission.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. You mentioned cameras. I have a great concern with us spending as much money as we've started again to spend at our armory, and I want to know if cameras have been placed there. It's been over 2 years since it was actually longer than that. But these cameras that we have throughout the community, is there some placed on the armory? Because there's still a window that someone has actually sabotaged, and its entryway actually could be a point of entry for somebody to go in and do graver damage than already been done. Can we get with Avon Marsh and and see if they can in fact get with the ones that, did the work, that was supposed to secure it before Pearson was actually given the, contract to do what they just did, and see why that window was not boarded up as well.
City manager, do you have?
So the company that did the security the last time, the entryways that were identified were on the bottom of the armory. Those have been cemented in so that there is no entryway. The window that I think Commissioner Adams is referring to is on the front part of the building, that front corner toward Paw Paw. And that one actually sits right above a very deep window well that if someone were to get in there, they're going to have to be about 10 feet tall. But as far as that goes, we have worked with Secure Alarms to get some cameras that we initially started with the dump sites, the ones that we couldn't, that wouldn't activate and do what we did to put into the armory for that purpose. So yes, we are in the process of doing that. Has it been done to its entirety? No. But again, that was one of the things that we talked about because we had to repurpose those cameras because they wouldn't work for the dump sites that we had identified them for.
Is that opening, like birds, animals can get in?
Yeah, that can happen, and we can get that secured and basically board it back up. We've ordered windows to replace windows in the armory now, and we're waiting on those. Those should be here in July. And so then once they are put in, then we can secure them because we don't want people to break them out as we do what we do at the armory. Yeah.
I have two. About the fountain. Is the fountain not working in the park in front of the armory? And what is the time frame for completion of the armory? What are the time frames for completion?
I'll take the second one first with the armory. The armory is a 5-phase repair. So it was allocated at $100,000, and what we are looking at is probably over 5 years of using the Community Development Block Grant funds to do it. Now, one of the things that we're going to petition HUD for is to, if possible, figure out a way we can do it all in one fell swoop so we can expedite that time, because if not, you're talking about 4 years, and by that time, it would be too long. So if we could do that and then allocate the dollars that we're going to toward that payment to pay it back to get it done, then that would be one of the things that we could do at that point. If not, we've also looked at some other grants to potentially do that, because again, you don't want to let it just sit while you're fixing on it and it takes 4 to 5 years to get done.
So does it have the status of being a historical, so we don't have to comply with those?
No, we didn't have, SHPO was not, we applied for we were going to apply for SHPO in the initial one in 1998, and because of the constraints around it, then City Manager Roberts did not want to do that because it would be too stringent on us. So he used Community Development Block Grant dollars over 3 years to redo it. Well, we're trying to do similar to that, but we want to expedite it because, like I said, at 5 years or 4 years, that is too long for it to sit in that respect. Ms. Jennings will give an update at Thursday's meeting as we talk about the new annual action plan relative to the armory, because there was some conversations she had with HUD that she wanted to get out to let the commission and the community know relative to the armory, because they're excited about getting it open as well. But I'll let her tell you that during the time that we have the public hearing for the annual action plan.
Second question about the fountain.
We went to get the fountain to restart it, and people had stolen parts of it, so we had to file an insurance claim. They stole the parts out of the fountain. So there's an insurance claim. We're waiting on the insurance claim, the insurance company to get back with us so we can replace that. That's a special order piece that we have to get out of Chicago. So
to Commissioner Adams' point, we probably need to expedite putting cameras in that area, because we spent a lot of money to actually get that fountain up and running a couple of years ago.
Correct, and the camera systems that we need there, the one we're talking about with the dump sites are more, well, they're on the line of, they're not integrated with our public safety department other than on the phone. What we looked at some years ago was putting cameras in and starting a network and then adding to it. We can revisit that to do that, because like I said, that needs to be something that's piped back here, that's kept, that we have a record of, so that if something like that does happen, then we can go after people for that purpose. You're absolutely correct.
So last question, I guess it's just a comment in regards to funding for the armory. On South Bend, I think they redid their armory, they turned it into something amazing, some kind of restaurant, and a bunch of things that they did to their armory in South Bend. But one of the things that I was thinking about was having private people who wanted to invest, so that some kind of plaque or brick went up on a wall that was dedicated to people who helped to fund that particular activity. So with our meeting, we need to talk about an option where people can actually donate funds towards, because there's people, especially alumni who are from here, who want to invest back into the city of Benton.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would love to do that with some kind of plaque with their name on it or a wall for people who helped to invest in it.
I was just at a workshop last week, last Monday, in Detroit relative to revitalizing infrastructure. And one of the big things that they talked about were P3s, public-private partnerships, and how it is becoming the new norm to get work done. So again, to your point, you're absolutely correct. We're going to have to look at public-private partnerships to get stuff done in the city and make sure that the monies go toward whatever activity they are earmarked for. You're right on track with that, Commissioner Henderson.
So even opening up accounts where money funds are line items,
Mhm.
that
I think they go back to, I think, a couple of years or so ago, when we was discussing the foundation. That would have been a way to, alumni, or people used to live here before. I heard a lot of folks who say, hey, I've done well and want to give back, but where do I give to? So, but that's something that we need to continue to explore. Commissioner?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just a quick overview of what you all just discussed. That window at the armory, all you have to do is get a 4-foot ladder or 6 and go right in. It's body open. And the last time I went and did a walkthrough the armory right before Miss Regina left, when we had spent quite a bit of money in the armory, that room that leads to that window, there was nothing wrong with it. It was ready and set to be used, as well as some other rooms. But now, it is what it is. And like Commissioner said, all that money we just spent on, can we do something to make sure that those cameras go up like ASAP and are workable? Because the very ones, and I think it was Overflow Church, when the emergency management came through here, when we were snatched out of our positions as the people's elected voices, when the armory was taken over, as well as Paul. Now, the gig should be up. We should be making sure that some things are taken care of. And I want to address something that I heard Officer Clark mention. I'm tired of waiting. I'm taking matters into my own hands. Through my brother's keeper with One Love Global out of Lansing, they just left Flint. And they've been up there helping the internal portions of the government itself make sure that the grant writing papers and everything is in order. And we have all this stuff. We have access to these resources. And it's time we start utilizing them. I want to also address what Commissioner, the idea that came through here about bricks and donating names and stuff. right before that park out there was named before, when it should have been named after the present mayor. I went down to Atlanta, and I brought back the idea after seeing in their beautiful park all these bricks, and somebody shared the story with me, and I'm like, that's a wonderful idea. Get people to donate and place a brick. Instead, we got a bench, a stool, a brick stool that belonged to somebody, I don't know. But that's a wonderful idea, and I think that we need to start utilizing those that are willing and want to be participants in helping us to rebuild to build our community. Yeah, and stop waiting on others to do it. Thank you.
Totally agree with you. It's something that, tried to do a few years ago, and I think it was voted down.
Same old song.
There was some commissioners that were, I guess, concerned about how it was gonna work or something, but, we back there again, so definitely something that we should, go ahead and put some, legs to. Go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda, buoys, discussion of buoys for the river. Do we have any information on that, Mr. Manager?
I spoke with Mr. Harry Lenderson, and he informed me that the buoys were placed out a couple of weeks ago for the no-wake zone on the river. What he also stated was that he tried to put lights on them so that they would light up and illuminate at night. He could not because of the fact that the weight on them basically would make them fall. The other thing is that he needs to also put the no-wake sign is going to be put near the DNR boat launch so that they know, as well as Eagle Point, which I believe is across the river, so that it can be put out there and known that the no-wake zone has been extended and that people need to slow down in that respect. Any other buoys that would be placed out there would have to get permission from the DNR relative to their placement in the lakes, rivers, and streams of the state. So we are waiting right now. We've got an application in with the DNR waiting on the buoys so we can get the ones put out at Gene Clark Park. But we have to get permission from the DNR prior to placement of anything in there, unless it's something like they did with the no-wake zone where you have delineation for that purpose.
What type of time frame?
We submitted it early in the spring, so that we're waiting on them. It should be in the next couple of days. But I spoke and had a conversation, a lady by the name of, I wrote her name down. Hold on. Her name is, she's at the Plainwell, give me just a second. Tamara, I believe, is her name, if I'm not mistaken. But she is at the Plainwell DNR Region 7, Tamara Bachman. So I reached out to her today via email, and I'm waiting to hear back from her. She's the one who they're the one who handles that application process.
One thing was talking about some for the fishermen, would they cover that, or the no-wake zone cover the fishermen?
There is a shared agreement between boaters and fishermen that the state has out, and the enforcement of it, and everybody's supposed to work together. It should slow down what's happening in that area, as we talked, like, was it last year before last, when the boats are coming down and basically are hugging the shore because of the fact that the water levels were so low. Well, that's not an issue right now. The water levels are extremely high now. So boats are moving and migrating out some. Again, if we want to put some more out there, we're going to have to make a petition to the state for that purpose. But again, you can't obstruct their passage. So, I mean, that is something that we can look at, but we have to ask somebody to place them because that is extremely deep there. So,
Commissioner Henry.
Boy, Mr. Duncan is really gonna love that process. You mean you haven't even applied for it yet? He was thinking that every time he asked, somebody told him, yes, we're doing that. Now you're gonna tell me you haven't even applied for it yet? Oh my God.
Commissioner Henry, at the meeting that we had for the no wake zone, Mr. Harry Lenderson said at that time, I'll put the buoys out. He did. The buoys are out. I'm saying if we want to put additional ones in the water.
I know what,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
just speaking on his behalf because he's not here. I don't even want him to turn on YouTube and see this because he'll drop. Nobody said that. You said
Yeah.
the buoys were going to be out. He wasn't talking about the no wake zone buoy. And everybody know what buoy he was talking about. So you did not apply for
So,
one of them, the wake zones. But you didn't apply for the fisherman's
No.
part.
I did not.
He'll love that part. Thank
Okay.
you, everybody.
All right.
Are you going to?
I can't, that's not a problem, Commissioner.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is,
3 years?
discussion of the passes for Harbor Shores. Is anybody here from the Harbor Shores?
No, there's nobody that I see. I know this group isn't, this is from gas, but
All right. Well, what came to me was that the last meeting we had with the oversight committee, they had stated they were going to discontinue those vouchers that were promised, I think, in the agreement because of some particular reasons. But there were some people that did object, and now the latest is that they were just going to give them to those people who objected and discontinue them for everybody else. So I was hoping somebody was here to explain the reasoning behind that. So maybe we'll have to invite them to a meeting. Anybody have any comments on that particular item on the agenda? Commissioner Harris, you
They're required by the lease agreement to give us discount. So for them to just say arbitrarily, and when they said it in the last meeting, I thought, ooh, how disrespectful. But I thought we had an understanding when we left. But maybe we don't. But if we don't stand up for ourselves when things like this pop up, then people will run over us. It's all in writing there, you can't miss it. It says that they're responsible. They're responsible for a lot of things that's not happening. The city is responsible for a lot of things that's not happening. So, but I want us to hold their feet to the fire, and maybe we'll get better in the meantime. But definitely hold their feet to the fire.
Who was our, Mr. Manager, who was our legal counsel when it comes to Mr. Harrington?
he would be the city's, the attorney for relative to any matters that would be, from a legal standpoint, yes, sir.
Could it be possible then that he would send a letter that we objecting, that we believe that there may be a breach of the lease agreement?
Okay, I'm just writing it down.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Uncle Chair. I'd just like to note, I'm trying to find it because it was kind of funny. And we women, we can just be kind sometimes when we want information, but I didn't expect for Jeff Knowles to actually say anything. When we received that email informing us that it's been discontinued, I read it several times because I knew that it was within the agreement at the very table that I sat at, and people looking me in my face and telling me exactly this. So when I posted it, just a little saddened to inform the community that this was happening. And Mr. Knowles came back and he stated that that is not true. I can't find it, but I got it. He stated that that was not true, when in fact I know what I had read, and he didn't know that I had gotten this email. That was funny about it, but not funny. Because when we enter into an agreement with these people, it was just like when the whole overall agreement came from the brownfield, it was excellent for this community. But when it got here, and when it got here, and it went back there somewhere and came back, everything had changed. And that this is kind of sort of what it is. For them to just change horses in the middle of a race, turn around and trip people up, unacceptable.
Okay, well, like I said, we asked the manager to have the attorney to
Yep.
send a letter to let them know that we feel that it's a breach of
Can
lease
we,
agreement.
can we actually, through the chair, find out if in fact from our attorney, if this is at least another portion amongst probably many that actually takes them into breach of contract or agreement? And what's our legal recourse for it all? I mean, we're dealing with 100 years of annexed land and a whole bunch of other stuff. This,
Do you really expect our attorney to take on that kind of?
can we hire another? Like that?
Go ahead. Come
Not
on.
necessarily speak to items, but to other items concerning the parks.
Okay.
Somebody's
We'll
gonna
do that after this one.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move to the next item, and that's the presentation, upgrade, improvement to Hall Park by Gas Manufacturing.
Hi, where did I go?
Right here, that's your seat.
Hi. So I brought some of these for y'all to look at while we're talking. So, yeah, I'm Julie Laurent, I know you too. I work with United Way, and Gas Manufacturing partners with us each year for their corporate social responsibility piece to give back to the community and make sure that they're contributing. Oh, here you are. Oh. Do y'all want to have extra?
Already,
They're color copies too, you know.
Your information is on here.
I'll give it to you.
Thank
I think
you.
we're Facebook
Oh.
friends. Yeah. So Gas Manufacturing, each year they set forth a budget, and they put together projects that they do in the community. 2 years ago, they redid the roof at the Salvation Army Men's Shelter right here in downtown Benton Harbor. It was leaking over the area where the gentlemen were sleeping. So they paid for it. They went, they did the construction, they did the work. Last year, they went the core lamping, safe shelter for domestic violence. The kitchen was in horrible disrepair. The families were unable to cook. The tiles had been coming up. The bathroom didn't work. There were a myriad of problems. Gas Manufacturing went in and they fixed that. So this year, they're sort of growing what they're doing. They've sponsored 4 food trucks in Benton Harbor. In fact, one was Monday night over at Benton Harbor High School. We served 335 people at that food truck. So what we were talking about, since a large portion of their employees live in Benton Harbor, their children go to Benton Harbor area schools, they really wanted to have an impactful way to give back. Hall Park is kind of walking distance to where their employees live. It's walking distance you can walk from the Boys and Girls Club, and after going and walking around and looking at it, they really feel they can do some wonderful upgrades and just, do some things in there that'll give the kids just a good place to play basketball, to have places to sit, meditate, redo some of the landscaping. And there's some things there, like some of the benches, the picnic tables are in disrepair, the horseshoes, they wanted to install some playground equipment, and that's just phase 1 of what they wanted to do for this year. So we wanted to come to you and ask if you would allow us to do this work.
Turn down.
It will cost.
It won't cost you a thing. Yeah, so Gas Manufacturing has a foundation, and they use that money to give back to the community. In fact, Sue, why don't you come tell them, this is Sue Wilming, she kind of heads up all these projects and gets everybody, she talks them into writing the checks. So let's listen to her.
So Gas Manufacturing is a child company of IDEX corporation. We have a foundation, IDEX has a foundation, and they're really pushing for us to make improvements in the company, or in the communities where we live and work. So, you know, I go to Julie and I say, what do you got for us? And she comes up with ideas. We've done work with, as she said, the men's homeless shelter, Salvation Army Men's Homeless Shelter, the Safe Shelter for Domestic Violence, also the Women and Children's Emergency Shelter down in Pipestone. So we've done food drives, all kinds of things, and we wanted a bigger project to do, something a little bit bigger, and everybody thinks this is a great, you know, we have a committee. These are two of my, you know, our committee members. So we'd like to just kind of go through here and start out with the things that are shown in this, and then possibly form an ongoing relationship where next year we come back and we go, hey, we see this, or you guys come to us and go, well, what we really need is, you know, some more bleachers or something. And then hopefully that can become an ongoing partnership with, you know, with the city, where we can continue to offer some financial backing to make some improvements.
This first phase that you have here, is there any estimated like cost or something that you've been spending, or kind of as you go along?
At this point, we don't have estimated costs, but we don't necessarily have a limited budget if we can justify our request. I mean, it's not, obviously, you know, I can't go and say, hey, I need $1 million, but, I mean, within reason. And I don't think the initial pass here, I don't think is hugely out of range for us financially.
Have any questions?
I don't have any questions, no objections. No. I would just like to say thank you for doing this. It's greatly appreciated. I know people and the community that specifically are touched by that part will greatly appreciate that. I do, because I know, especially if you're spending your own money to invest in the community, where your employees live at, it is a wonderful thing, and thank you. Thank you so much.
I do too, appreciate that too, and I think this would, you know, companies, you know, that's, like you say, workers in the community and stuff, and that definitely shows a good spirit on their part to, you know, be able to give back and make things nice for the community that the workers live in.
Yeah.
So I do applaud you, and I do support this, Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, and thank you. For a very long time, for nearly 20 years now, when United Way was taking money out of my husband's check every week, I was wondering like, well, why? Even if it was just $1, if you take $1 out of 500 people's checks, I mean, it adds up over time. And I found out that they give back to the community, which is wonderful. And when I approached them, well, I guess you have to, well, have some patience, and here we are. Thank you. Thank you.
And just so you guys know how United Way works, we raise our amount of money each year, but we also use that to leverage money back in the community. So we were able to match the grant for the Boys and Girls Club building. We were able to match the grant for Child and Family Services when they need an area agency on aging. So last year we brought an extra $3.5 million into the community for area nonprofits to serve the people that live here.
I have a question through the chair for the young lady. If in fact this has to do with the Reinvestment Act, that institutions, I thought it was just the financial institutions, but I guess maybe more, give back and put back into the community. If we can, we need to tackle some homeless stuff, and I hope that we can get together and talk on a partnership of some sort, on an economic development idea. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for letting us come be a part of everything here.
Thank you.
I'm gonna need 2 graduates, so.
Yay!
I just have a question to the city manager. Is there a master plan for parks? I know we're working on a master plan for the city. Is there a master plan for parks?
The parks are part of the master plan, but there is an overall park plan that has not been updated in some time. So that,
That would be probably helpful, because I received a call from somebody else that was interested in, I think it's Seats Park, that wanted to do some stuff in that park as well, and wanted to find out the parameters of which they could do that and that kind of thing as well.
yeah, like I said, I know that the overall parks are incorporated in the overall master plan, but a specific plan does exist. And like I said, we can start that conversation at the next Parks and Recreation to go over that. I think it was 2009 that it was last done.
So it probably would be helpful for them to actually see that as well as they're doing implementation, so that, because people have done things in the park and then they've got redone, because it's just,
Right.
so it'd be great to have a mapping of what's happening in the park and what's being done to make sure that it's falling in.
For sure.
Part of the master plan.
Yeah, and that's our whole, I mean, that's part of why we wanna be here, because we want to improve it, but we don't,
Right.
if we come in with our ideas and they don't make sense
Yeah.
to what you guys are, what you have on the table and what you're trying to accomplish, then they're not beneficial. So we wanna make sure that we're working closely with the commission and with the city, so that we know everybody's on the same page. We for sure don't need to waste money doing
Right.
something so that we can go back and redo it. I know that that park has some historical things in there,
Oh, yes.
so there's some limitations and regulations and things that can't be changed. So we wanna make sure that we're hitting all of those key factors too.
And I think at last time there was an arborist involved, because some of the trees had some kind of, there was an arborist involved at Hall Park, because there was a couple of trees that could not be touched or cut down because of the historic nature of those trees. So it was a huge, issue, I think, that
Yeah.
come up with one of the trees that needed to be cut down or whatever, but an arborist got involved, so it would be great.
Yep.
If they had access to, the master plan and, even maybe involving one of the state arborists, to help in that project.
I move that this be moved to the
Yes,
commission.
right.
Okay. Be ready for the next commission meeting? All in favor?
Money, okay.
Thanks for coming to the Treasure Ones.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple more questions that's related to this item.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just an update on, the trash contractor, how is that happening? That we were supposed to be hiring a guy to pick up trash, how that is going, and there's one other thing. Maybe it'll come back. I wrote it down. Oh, Yarbo Park. Just a question about, I was down there, I took some of my students down there, there was a tarp that was torn up, where the kids played, the mulch wasn't put down, and so maybe it has been done since then, but, yeah, just.
You said it was a tarp?
The tarp under the playground equipment
Okay,
was, the mulch was not covering it,
okay,
and there was some exposed metal pieces that
okay.
were a danger to kids. I just wanted to find out if that been updated, and just an update on the trash contract and how that's going, and how our citizens supposed to proceed in putting things out.
For,
The trash contract.
The extra trash.
Extra trash contractor, not the garbage,
Not the garbage.
the trash contractor.
So at
Go
the
around and
parks?
Pick up larger,
No, you're talking about residential.
residential that was
We-
picking up larger.
we've got that already, that one's already been done. We've got one on board, we were working with another one to get that done. Mr. McGinnis, Director McGinnis had basically been the one that was spearheading that. And like I said, I know we've got one that we've got already in the queue that's been given a debris list and gone out and picking up stuff. So that has already started. Again, we're looking for more if we can find them. One of the ones we had an issue with insurance, and we didn't want to put them out there without any insurance. But we do have the one that we know is already going out and started doing stuff. His main focus right now has been the tire side of it. And the other thing about it is that we, through the grant that we got for the 2 tire bins, there is more available. So we've already reached out to the Berrien County Foundation to get more, so we can get more tires out of the way. But yes, that has already started, Commissioner Anderson.
But are the residents aware of what days to put out additional?
So what he's doing right now is the debris that is out that we have on our lots and that is in places like in the alleys is what he's concentrating on right now.
Just the alleyways?
The alleys, the debris that's sitting on vacant lots, stuff that's being put out is being dumped in places that we talked about some time ago. He is focused on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do the residents do when they have above their 96-gallon can?
So I talked with his name is Robert Edwards, and Mr. Williams about that. They have said that they've committed to, if there is stuff that is outside of the can that is not egregious. So if you got 4 or 5 extra bags, they said they're taking them. But they don't want to have 4 or 5 cans that they would be taking. So if there's anything big bulk stuff that they have that they can still get with recycle to do that, that's part of their contract. But anything additional, trash beyond the 96, they're taking as long as it's bagged up and it's not just sitting out there strewn all over the tree lawn. So that was a conversation we had about 3 weeks ago.
I think we gotta somehow get, because the residents are still confused,
About
putting the, the extra, stuff out.
Okay.
Even, the new spring cleaning or whatever, they got some stuff that would be considered, not bagged up. They confuse of who to call, how do you arrange to get that extra stuff picked up. They already know it's gonna be an extra fee, but they just don't know who to call or how to set it up.
One of the things I heard that just yesterday was that the numbers that are posted for them are not the numbers that they're non-working numbers. But I just found that out yesterday when a gentleman tried to get a trash can for a property that he has rental. So again, that's something that I got to get with them about to find out why is it that you have numbers that are posted that aren't working, and then we move forward.
What happens, stuff stay out, and they'll either, get posted,
Mm-hmm.
probably end up, possibly get a ticket or something.
Yep.
But they have no way of getting rid of it, so it's got to catch-22.
We'll get that taken care of. Like I said, then we can address with the gentleman that we have that is going out picking up debris to see if we can work that as well, to see if we can do that. But we got to get him logistically off of the stuff that he's doing currently.
Plus, if they're still doing it where, say if they don't have nobody to pick it up and expect to put the little yellow tag on, then the city come by and charge them automatically $200 and.
No, what we've done is in that situation where there is extra debris that is out, the gentleman that we're talking about that has been that we've gotten for the purposes of picking that stuff up is given a list relative to that. So it's the cost of what it costs to pick it up, not the $200. So the $200 was set for the grass cutting, but it was set that the cost of whatever it costs us to pick it up is what will be charged to that individual resident. Yeah.
Last question. It was a street sweeper. Haven't seen it. Just wanted to
It was
find
actually out Monday.
out.
Yeah, it was out.
Where?
The last time.
I can get you the actual addresses. I mean, if you want to know where it was at. It was out Monday.
Same streets.
So yeah, Monday afternoon. I know I rode past it. I want to say it was on off of Britain, somewhere off of Britain, over in like the south side of Britain. That's what comes in my mind. But I can get that information for you and give it to you to let you know where it's been.
But if we did a chart where we know, so people, even residents know the street sweeper
We're
is.
working on that as we speak to put as basically a GPS system so that we can put it so that people can know where things are going on. Yep.
Since we're on that too, 11th Street, buddy,
There's a carpet that's still there. that needs
been
to
there
be
for
fixed
about
up.
four, 5.
11th?
11th Street.
11th Street is a red carpet.
Where,
On 11th Street.
down there by, where,
Closer to the-
Frank Patrick used to be on the other end.
Right in the middle where those trailers are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the grass there is overgrown.
Yeah, we'll have it for the remainder of this month. And then what we'll do is look at, going into next month, we're talking about new fiscal year, so it'll be, we may be able to redo it that time as well. Like I said, street sweeping is something that we need to do. It's just, we gotta keep,
I know that went down.
it did, it went down. That was a problem that we had where there was I wanna say the bearing went out on it. And we basically, they came and fixed it, we had to then, they extended our time for it. So yeah, it didn't stop us at that point.
The issue with the DNR, grass cutting, I rode past there yesterday, and they cut down, but they whacked down the grass and left all that grass in the street. And I know, I think Mark said last week, we cannot, there's no way for us to, have any repercussions against them because they are the state. And so, but that is completely unacceptable. The way that looked, I walked my students from school down there, and we literally could not see over the street because the grass was so high. But they cut it down yesterday, finally they whacked it and left all of that grass in the street. And we need to talk to whoever is in charge. That is 100% unacceptable.
I asked Ms. Jones to give me the contact that she had because as of, like you said yesterday, it wasn't done. And so I asked them, and they did come out and do it. However, they didn't do it. They didn't do a good job on it. So I asked that actually this evening before we came in. Could I get the contact number for who she talked to get it done? Yeah, because it is. Because the other part about that is it then clogs up our storm drains, and then you end up with water that ends up over the road or on Riverview.
Grass all in the cracks.
Absolutely.
When you need to actually run a lawnmower
Yep.
along, and you go from Whirlpool to Benton Harbor, and you can automatically see the switch, and from one end of the city to the other, and that is unacceptable.
Do, we have some type of ordinance for almost kind of under littering or something?
It's ridiculous.
It would be considered debris, but
Depositing debris in the streets or something?
I think you won't say something over there.
Go ahead.
Actually, it's a violation of state law to do that, to put stuff in the street. And we've actually already cited a few people for that. We had one, the officer asked him to stop, and he just continued to cut the grass right onto the officer.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that's actually against state law to cut and blow into the street like that. It's a danger, not only for your storm drains and stuff, but for people who ride motorcycles and stuff like that.
Can we get the county involved? I know, we talked to our attorney about these particular issues, and once they saw how bad the dumping was, they began to step up.
Yeah.
Can we also involve them in this same,
Yeah,
because it's unacceptable.
I wish Director McGinnis was here to actually have that conversation.
Yeah.
But we reached out to the Chief Justice, Chief Judge Bruce, to set up a meeting with the courts just so we could be on the same page when we start talking about it. Because one of the things that happens here, we deal with things like that other communities may or may not deal with, and you'll see an abundance of them. And we don't want to be just kicked to the curb because of the fact that, that's nothing that you should be worried about, but we are worried about it. So we have been vehemently trying to get that meeting set up between the Chief Judge, and I believe it's Judge Strzok, or am I wrong? Clark, that does community.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so,
grass, overgrown bushes, that are on the DNR
because
property.
that's all,
It's ridiculous.
that's all ordinance
You have
stuff.
to walk, there's a sidewalk
That
that
you
has
can't
a
even
crack
see.
in it. No, that is dangerous, that you could actually fall in and injure yourself. So little kids, we're stepping around to keep from stepping on a wooden dock so that nobody will fall down in a hole.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
unacceptable.
Back to the grass in the street, since it is against the law, although you won't be able to cite the DNR or whoever it is, a government entity like the Housing Commission or something, but the person who actually doing it, you know, we can cite them, right? Because they actually committing the crime.
Yes,
Okay.
they actually could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be no different than like if you got pulled over driving a state car.
Right.
Yeah, same thing, so.
It's like if you
Mhm.
toast enough of them, you probably get the message, because, you know, it's just, it is kind of boiled down to a respect thing too, you know, so,
Exactly.
yeah, so I would ask that the public safety
Yeah.
department do make, you know, make that effort, you know. Yeah.
Through
Wow.
the chair. I'm gonna bag up a little bit because y'all kept going and got on another topic and whatever, but we're still in the same line of discussion. Back some time ago, I found out that Canada actually drives over to Paloma to dump their trash. And not too long ago, their prices went up. We have code enforcement that we don't need to reinvent a wheel that's already in place, but if there's some enforcements going on, it should be fair and just. Let the enforcement be the enforcement. We're supposed to have our trash cans out 24 hours is it prior to?
Actually, it says 7, it can be out no earlier than 7 o'clock the night before.
Okay, and what about the removal of them? Because it looks really bad when you ride through the city and trash cans just sitting there. And it's not even trash day. I'd like to see how many violations there have been listed for that.
People are not picking up, I've gotten calls where their trash is not being picked up. They're not picking up, they're not picking up leaves. So they're supposed to be picking up leaves and stuff the next day. They didn't even pick ours up, and we're always on time.
I'm sure they
It was out
missed
the day
their
of the
marks
trash.
plenty of times, but I'm talking about,
So-
the same standard we
They're
expect
not
for other
picking up
people,
people's trash. I've
we
had
need to
several
hold
complaints
ourselves accountable as well.
Been
They're
part
not
of
picking up
it, we got
people's trash.
two folks talking.
Well, I had the floor, is that right?
Okay,
Is it still the case?
yeah, good.
I make no excuses for anybody, and I've been quiet and silent up until now because of conflict of interest, because I know what it is when it comes to conflict of interest. But when a resident, the people that I represent, ask me a question, I need to be able to tell them where to go, who to talk to, or I need to be able to answer it. And there's a large lack of communication, and have been from the very beginning, and some of us know why. But we won't get into that. But it needs to get better. We have got to do better. There's no reason that the people and this company does not know the hows and the whys and to be on one page about it. It's really simple. I don't know who made it so hard.
Commissioner,
What are?
Communication, why the residents don't know that there's been no changes in days of the holidays. They will run, and if they run early, that's on them. If they run late, that's on them. But there's been a large lack of communication. That's all I'm saying. And at some point, a lot of it has fallen on the city for lack of communication, to make them aware of any changes.
But Commissioner, nothing has changed. Nothing changed from when we went from reliable to recycle, other than the fact that you had a different company come to pick it up. The days stayed the same, the processes stayed the same. We have gone to great lengths working with recycle to get through some issues that they've had where they have not come because the trucks broke down.
Okay,
They
and
have
I
come-
totally understand that through the
I
chair.
would ask that you let me finish the
Through the
statement.
chair, no, that wasn't the conversation. I was just asking if we could please just do better. That's it, that's all. Thank you.
all right, you want to finish your?
What I was saying was they have, when we have had conversations, we've reached out to them. There's been great communication. I get calls from Mr. Williams and Mr. Edwards almost weekly, if not daily.
Same person.
So if there's a lack of communication, it's not that the city's not communicating with them to know the whys and the why nots. Again, Mr. Williams has done this in this community for almost 30 years. So I don't know where the miscommunication is as relates to picking up the trash. They know that they're supposed to pick up leaves on the day of or the day after. That's,
It's not on them, the residents don't know.
the residents don't know what.
That's whose calls I get from.
They don't know what.
They seem to think that things have changed.
Because recycle's not.
When nothing.
That's the problem.
Because they didn't pick ours up today.
That's what I think.
No,
Point of order, please. Chair, point of order.
Chairman Singleton, the only
Excuse me,
thing.
one at a time, please.
Chairman Singleton, the only thing I was saying was, and it's really simple, I wasn't trying to get into no argumentative stuff. The only thing I was saying is, and I got a lot of calls on not only the city's voicemail, but my personal line as well, from residents that seems to think that something has changed, and they get no answer from this office. And I got too many voicemails that says so. When all they had to do, we haven't gotten anything in the mail, just send out a memo that should have been done in the beginning. Nothing has changed. Period.
So, Chairman, so I agree, nothing has changed with our delivery, our pickup day. My delivery date is on Monday. My husband and my sons are relentless, and he's on their behinds about putting things out. So on Mondays, if they don't get leaves and debris, they usually come in and get it the next day. So today is Wednesday, they still have not picked up the debris. So all of my neighbors still have bags of leaves and rubbish stuff sitting out. In fact, I told my husband, you probably need to put it back, because they probably won't pick it up again until Monday, because they didn't pick it up Tuesday, and today is Wednesday. So I think people are getting confused because it's not being picked up on the days that it's supposed to be picked up. And so it's sitting, and so they're like, oh, I thought it was gonna be picked up this day, well, maybe I was wrong, because I actually said that today. So I think that's where the issue is. I've gotten calls. So one of my neighbors also called and asked what's going on, and that's what I said to them as well. So I think that's the issue. I don't think it's the lack of communication. I just think they may have some issues and have run into something where they couldn't, and maybe I've communicated that.
Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Chair. Well, a month or so ago, we asked the city to put out another letter to the citizens to remind them and to tell them about them. That hasn't happened. Now, there was one that was put out some years ago, or a year or two ago, but it's time to put another one out, just to remind them what to do.
Mr. Manager, could you
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
have a letter
Yes,
put
sir.
out saying that
Absolutely.
nothing
Absolutely.
changed, or if it is
Absolutely.
changed?
We'll put out
take that
another.
out?
So
We'll
put
put
it
out-
on the back of the water bill instead of, on the flip side of that, because I think the water bills, the little cards, or just a reminder saying, when we print those out, saying, this is the day, or even every time. they
No,
go
no,
out,
I
says,
think
no, sir, no, they need
Excuse
a
me,
full
hold on,
explanation.
hold on.
Instead
I
of.
think that, would be the information that need to go out.
Mhm.
It's gonna be more than that.
That little card ain't gonna be,
No.
they need to know,
Extra.
yeah, so that'd be too
Exactly.
small, so I think they need to put a letter out basically explaining the days again, which they should know, but, if there's any other stuff, leaves, and then it's the contractor there's some issues there that, because when the trucks do break down and the leaves gotta sit out there for 3 or 4, extra days or till next week. And you can't put them in plastic bags, they gotta be in the paper bags, and it rain, and next thing you know, they back all over the place again, so it's, we got some issues there, and those are some of the things that hopefully in the future that we can deal with from a city level, so. Right now, it's kind of tough, so. Commissioner Henry, one final. Turn in, go ahead.
I know that, it's not on the agenda, but I have to speak about this issue with the 5G. I wanna give everybody information that I have on it, and I'm asking everyone to read it, and we're gonna talk about this again in our next community, committee meeting. We need to talk about this until we fix it. It's a serious, serious issue with the 5Gs, and I'm just gonna pass out to all of you so you can read this stuff. I'll just give it to the clerk.
Okay.
And,
Could you, when you get that, could you pass, when you do it in your committee, can you pass it on to the public safety committee? That you, whatever you came up with in your committee with it.
I'm going to make sure that we talk about
Right,
this.
okay.
This is something serious, it's something deadly, and it's something that no community have to go through, should have to go through.
All right. Thank everybody for coming. This meeting is adjourned.